Hello and welcome to my channel, Weekly Wisdom. My name is Damali. For those of you that have never been here before, I'm the founder of Forerunner Counseling and the lead counselor there. We've been doing this since 2007. Can't believe it is so long. Um, Today, I want to talk about how to deal with depression. We are entering into a holiday season that can be very heavy for so many people, especially those who are grieving, or sometimes this is the quarter when most companies do their layoffs. So some people go through losing their jobs on top of having the responsibility of their jobs, their families. And so I just want to, because I've seen a lot of people going through depression without actually knowing that they are depressed and they're trying to power through life and they don't know what's really happening. So I'm just going to talk to you about how to deal with depression. Now, in life, we live in this fallen world. None of us is going to get away unscathed in a sense of being bruised or wounded by life or relationships. So we go through what we go, we lose things, uh we lose money, we lose relationships, we lose jobs, we lose opportunities, we lose possessions. We lose so many things in life. No one has never lost anything at all in their existence. And when we experience losing anything or loss, we feel sad, you know, we feel sad, and that's normal. Because I've also seen people who go about in life thinking that everything is just going to be positive vibes and everything always good. And sometimes people talk themselves into la la land in a place that doesn't really exist. And so when you try to connect with people who are always positive, you don't feel free to actually talk about what you're experiencing if you're experiencing like sadness or loss or loneliness, because they're always positive. And I'm not going to take away from people who are like Debbie Downers. They're always finding the worst case scenario, and that's what they focus their minds on. And that could be also like one of the symptoms of being depressed. So, how can you tell that you're just sad or you're just going through a depression? What are some of the things you can think about or can consider to know that you're just going through sadness and you're not necessarily depressed, right? So, when you go through sadness, especially when you've lost a loved one, you're going through that sadness of losing the loved one, but you're also experiencing grief, right? Grief is different, and depression is part of grieving. So there is depression that you will encounter as a result of grief, but then there is depression that could be almost clinical, that is just not living. The depression that comes with grief is kind of like seasonal. It comes in waves and it goes. Some days you may be okay, and then after a little while you're not okay. It's completely different from the prolonged years or months of being depressed that is different from the one that is clinical. So sadness is very normal. We all experience sadness, and that's totally fine. You shouldn't necessarily be alarmed by it. But when you're depressed, it feels like you have like a heavy heart, you know. So these are some of the symptoms that you want to think or consider. They usually last more than 2 weeks, right? It's like continuously for more than 2 weeks at least. You're going to feel like you're very irritable, or you're always like in a depressed mode, like you feel sad, depressed. Like depression and sadness, that the feeling of depression means like you're weighed down. It's almost like you're carrying a heavy heart. Your heart is so heavy you can't even lift up certain things. Like if you're trying, like if I go through, like when I experience those depressed experiences or moods, I feel like sometimes when you're trying to hold, let's say you run, your heart feels so heavy you can't run. When you go to the gym, you can't lift up any weights because your heart is heavy. And then if you experience that for a period of time, you want to talk to someone, because you're probably in a depression and you don't even realize that you're going through that. And this is something, especially if you also have experienced trauma in your life growing up. Depression can be like a coping mechanism where when you don't feel like there is anyone that can help you, you feel like just it weighs you down and you're thinking about it, because some of the symptoms, of course, of depression comes with thinking. You're always thinking, thinking, thinking. So anyway, let me first go through the symptoms of the continuous symptoms that may last for a duration of at least 2 weeks, right? You lose interest in enjoyable activities. Let's say you like swimming, you don't have interest in it. Let's say you like to work out, you like eating out, you like to hang out with people, you like to watch movies, you like those things, you don't enjoy things anymore because you don't have that interest anymore. Remember, your heart is heavy. You don't feel like you want to do anything because your heart doesn't permit you to do things the way you want them to do. Right? And then sometimes you experience changes in your weight. Some people lose so much weight, some people gain so much weight when they are depressed. That's something that you can consider because some people tend to eat a lot just so that they can not think about their problems that are weighing them down, so they gain weight. Or sometimes the stress of just thinking or whatever situation is going on just sits in your body, especially if there is no movement going on in your system. All that stress sits in your body and becomes weight. You may experience changes in your sleeping patterns, It's like some people don't sleep at all. Some people sleep for a few hours and then they wake up. Some people are able to basically wake up and never go back to sleep. And when they wake up, many of them wake up like with a pit in their stomach, right? Like there is a pit in your stomach, like this anxiety that you're not going to be okay, right? It's a constant pit that you're experiencing, especially when you're sleeping. So those are some symptoms. Okay, you're also going to experience the sluggishness. You don't want to wake up. That's why you find some people don't want to get out of bed. They don't even want to open the blinds. They just want to feel like they just want to be in their own world. Don't interrupt it. Don't get them to get out of that world of whatever they're going through. And so they're just sluggish. What do you want to do today? I don't feel like doing anything. You wake up at noon. Somebody who used to wake up early in the morning, you wake up at noon and you feel like you could sleep more if you didn't have to go to eat or you didn't have to go to work. And so it's very debilitating. You don't have a lot of energy. You're not motivated to do anything at all. Everything is just, you don't feel like it, right? Then the feelings of worthlessness. You feel like you're the problem sometimes. Sometimes you feel like, what's the point anyway? No matter what you do, it's not going to work out anyway. So you just feel like the feelings of worthlessness can be very overwhelming. And then there is also the tendency to feel like you cannot concentrate. You go to read a book or you go to watch a movie, or if you're able to watch a movie or whatever, your brain cannot focus. Basically, you're just disrupted. Like your brain becomes ADHD brain. You're consistently disrupted. You're consistently interrupted. You're not able to focus. You don't concentrate. So time goes by and you don't feel like you've accomplished anything. So that's another symptom, like you're going through a depression. Then some people have suicide ideation, meaning that dying is better than living. What's the point of being alive? What is the point of growing up? Why do I have to wake up? For what? If I'm feeling heavy and sleeping is the thing that gives me comfort, why do I have to wake up? So dying would be ideal. So I know the seasons that we are going in are very challenging for some people, but also the political climate we've been in. People are going through different seasons and different experiences. So just take care of yourself, that if you're feeling overwhelmed, if something is bothering you, don't try to be strong. I mean, it's good to be resilient. Being resilient and being strong can be good, but sometimes you just need to be supported. You just need someone to hear you out and cast your cares so that you don't feel like you have to carry all that burden by yourself. If you've never been to therapy before, maybe that would be a great idea for you to start talking to someone. I mean, you may shop around. I still have openings in my practice if you're interested, but it's always also good to shop around and see who you're gonna connect with depending on what you're going through. It's very crucial to know that you're not going through this alone. And for those of you that have faith, especially those who believe in scriptures, is that, Jesus said, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy burdened, and I'll give you rest. It's kind of when you're exchanging those burdens, like how do you exchange heavy emotions, heavy depression? How do you exchange it for a lighter weight? I mean, you talk. That's why it's good to talk to people. If you don't have friends, if you don't have a core group of support, reach out to therapy, reach out to someone to talk to. If you know God, talk to God and pray and exercise that muscle of faith where you can consistently give him your cares and refuse to leave your body way down, your heart heavy. You can talk through some of these things. Some things are not able to change, that you just have to find a way to have coping mechanisms, and thinking may change. You may have to reframe your way of interpreting or thinking your thoughts so that they don't weigh you down. Again, we all go through depression, none of us is exempted. But if you're going through it in a where it's prolonged, that's when you really have to go through, you have to seek help. And if you're grieving, especially if you've lost loved ones, it's understandable. Some people may use medication, not for necessarily grieving. Yes, you can take medication for grief, but it's just a temporary solution, because what you're carrying is more than medication can fix to some degree. And if you're not able to totally recover, then yes, medication may help. But for those of you, sometimes when you find that you're not able to find yourself motivated for long periods of time and you feel like you're wasting time and years are going by, high chances are you're depressed. So talk to someone. I'm gonna leave you with that scripture again. I think it's in Matthew 11:28 that says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden." You may not have friends, you may not have family, you may not have a good support system, but God is everywhere at all times. You can always talk to him whenever you feel like talking. Just don't isolate yourself. I know depression, being alone makes you feel better in a sense, like you feel like you're solving a problem, but it's really not. Now, before I go, I'm sorry, I said I was gonna close. I just wanted to add this is trauma, depression as a trauma response. Remember, I say like when you are developing and you never had any support system, when something bothered you, when something went wrong, you feel like you had to figure it out on your own. And figuring it out on your own at a young age can take a lot of time, because you don't figure it out because your brain is not even fully developed to figure that out. So you may be stuck in some of the childhood experiences that every time something goes through or you get disappointed in real time, your way of coping is to go through a depression. I'm sure you've seen people who have experienced that, or you yourself may be one of those people who every time you go through a disappointment, discouragement, something not working, your brain automatically goes to depression, because that's the only thing that you did that helped you to navigate when you're younger. But now as an adult, you want to find ways of updating your skills so that you can catch up to your age. So thank you so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button and you get notifications every time I do a video, and put your comments underneath, and I want to hear from you guys. So thank you so much. And for those of you that are not subscribed to my newsletter, just feel free to go to my website, forerunnercounseling.com, and you could get my emails. I try to send them out weekly. I know these days we all don't want to receive emails, so I try not to bombard you with them. But subscribe to my newsletter. I also do have a skills group for those of you who want to experience like a support system with your trauma. We meet every other Mondays. In other words, we meet 2 times a month. For $20, it's really, really cheap, but you get a support system. Sometimes the people come in the group and they are going through a lot and they find support there. So if that's something that you want to consider, maybe you may not be able to afford therapy, that could be something that you can consider to start with. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next week.